Identify space-time location.
You have reached year 3188.
Computer. Life readings. Is there life here? Anywhere?
Multiple life signs detected.
Yes!
Welcome to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. My name is Mike. I'm one of your co-hosts, and with me is Johnson. How you doing, Johnson?
I'm good, Mike. How are you? Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. It is new Star Trek Day. It is Discovery Day.
Premiere Day.
Yes.
We've been waiting so long for this, so
it's
finally here.
18 months. A lot happened, and it was pretty exciting. There was a lot of action. There was a little exposition. We have a long way to go to figuring out this new universe that we're living in.
Yeah, totally. I was surprised and delighted by some elements of the first episode. So do you want to just get into it? Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
First reactions?
First reactions, yeah.
This is Commander Saru. All crew to stations immediately. Red alert.
So before we get into our thoughts about episode 1, That Hope Is You, part 1, we want to make sure that you know that we are going to deep dive and talk about all the details of this premiere episode. So if you haven't yet watched, put us on pause and go and watch it on CBS All Access, or if you're international, Netflix, and watch the episode and then come back and listen to our thoughts, feelings, and everything all about episode 1, That Hope Is You, part 1.
And that hope is you, Commander Burnham.
Go ahead. What was your first reaction?
So the opening that we were treated to at New York Comic Con, virtual New York Comic Con, was not the real opening, or it was just one segment of it. So when the cold open started, I was like, what is happening? So I actually really liked the cold open with, what's his name, Sahil? It opened with him. I thought it was actually very interesting. It was an interesting start. It piqued my interest. I actually thought the opening with that sequence was stronger because it kind of piques this mystery. Because as we talked about in our first reaction to the teaser that they showed in New York Comic Con, we thought it was like really busy. We thought there was a lot going on. Obviously, it was very action-packed. But I think that this sequence actually kind of balances that out, because it is, you see his routine, you see, like, you know, every day he gets up. And I thought the tech was interesting too. It seems to be some sort of like, either it's holographic or nanotechnology or something along those lines. But yeah, I thought the opening was stronger with that scene. So I thought it was too bad that they cut it out in the teaser that they gave us. But I really did like it. I liked how they opened it. And then for the overall episode, you know, it was a lot of setup, because, you know, it's been so long. So they had to kind of almost in some ways reintroduce Michael. And I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, why is she so emotional? Oh, right. They just like saved all sentient life. I forgot about that. So she was very happy when the computer in the Red Angel suit found that there's life on the planet. So I was like, oh, it makes sense because they succeeded. And yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of setup. We got introduced to Book, Grudge, his cat, who is a big cat, and to this world. And I think there are a lot of unanswered questions. One of the things that I was actually very happy about is that they told us what the burn was. I was like, yes, thank you. Because I was like, oh my God, if he like just doesn't answer Michael's question, I'll be so pissed. But they actually said what it was. And we can get into that in a little bit. But I was glad that they told us what it is. We don't know why it happened. And I think that's gonna be the mystery. But at least we know what it is. And I was surprised that we did not get to see the Discovery at all and anyone else on the ship. I'm sure they'll probably do that in the next episode, maybe. I don't even know. Actually, based on my preview, I'm not even sure. But yeah, I was actually very surprised that we didn't get to see the Discovery crew at all. But given that it is the opening, it really is, like I said, it's a lot of like just intro to a new character, intro to basically a new universe. So we're left with more questions than answers. And it was fine. You know, I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I didn't love it because I do think that, again, it's one of those like just setup episodes. It's like part 1 of, you know, a 13-part season. But what did you think? What was your reaction?
I would agree with you. I mean, I think that it being a part 1 kind of tells me that, you know, this is a 2-part kind of premiere movie, kind of like the first season of Discovery was, like with a 2-hour premiere. So I kind of feel they're following that same formula, which makes sense because we're in a whole new time frame. And so it's kind of like you said, a reintroduction to Michael Burnham. And yeah, she has been through a lot. And she is a little edgy. She is a little feisty. And she's severely worried about, you know, what happened to the rest of her crew because they're not there. Right. So I really enjoyed it. There was a lot. I agree with you. The opening, the difference was with that scene was a nice touch to kind of give it some gravitas. I kind of wondered why it was placed there, and of course we find out at the end. So it kind of bookends the episode kind of nicely in that way. But I really was curious, like, who is this guy? What is he? You know, obviously he's doing this repetitively every day. So that was interesting. And also I thought the part at the end where he said he was Starfleet was really interesting. So I thought the action with Book was good. I got involved right away. I was right there with Michael Burnham. I was kind of pissed at him. I loved her beating the crap out of him.
I know, he was annoying a little bit at the start.
So especially for someone who's doing good, like for someone who's doing good, he doesn't trust anybody. And so, you know, I enjoyed her kicking the crap out of him. And then also later on saying, I'm sorry. And he says, why? Because you think we're going to die? And she was like, yeah. So, but I did come to like him. I think he is a good person. And I think that he is, it's going to be an interesting kind of, I mean, in the preview, which we'll get to for the season, you see them kiss. So, so there's a romantic avenue to this. Also, you know, I think also from the preview, I feel like there's going to be a time frame, I don't know, 9 months or so before the Discovery actually arrives.
So the whole thing with her hair changing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, but I enjoyed the episode. I want to go back and watch it again. I actually didn't think he explained the burn all that well. Like the universe took a left turn. He did tell us was that it happened 100 to 120 or 150 years ago.
Right.
Which when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that puts us right in the temporal Cold War era.
And that was, for me, I was like, what? Enterprise reference? Because he referred to the, you know, when he was like, oh, like time travel was outlawed after the temporal wars. I was like,
I totally missed that comment.
What?
So I mean,
he recently said that.
Yeah.
No, I admit I needed closed captioning because I told you this. I had problems understanding him once in a while.
Yeah,
because
he has a strong
I'm really bad with accents.
Yeah.
But he did specifically mention that because he was like, yeah, where'd you come from? How'd you time travel here? Because yeah, all like time travel ships or time travel technology was outlawed after the temporal wars. I was
Right.
like, oh, that's great, because Daniels was again from the 31st century, and he was of the temporal factions that I'm aware of. He was actually the farthest out from all the other ones, because the Sphere
Okay.
Builders were like, I think 26th century or something
Mhm.
along those lines.
Yeah.
And then in Voyager, I think, what is it, like 28th, 29th century maybe?
29th century, yeah.
So he's the farthest out that we've known, and he was one of the factions involved in the temporal Cold War. So I was like, oh, that actually is a reference back to that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna dig any deeper into it, but I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, that I think that we are going to see some little strings attached to the existing universe, and I think we'll see some of that.
And then, oh yeah, so we were saying the only other thing that book says about the burn is that basically something happened to dilithium. That
Right. Yeah.
that basically dilithium blew up.
Right. That's the other piece that he mentions like a bunch of different types of drives, slipstream drive, a couple others that so I have to kind of go back and watch that, but overall I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to go watch it again, and I'm excited to see part 2, and I'm wondering, they did have a virtual premiere, and I'm wondering if they got to see both parts of the premiere, kind of like with Picard. They did get to see the first 3 episodes. Granted, that was pre-COVID, and that was also in person in California. So, yeah, but I'm excited to see what's next. I do think there's going to be a long time frame, months. Obviously, we'll experience it in an episode, but I think there's a big gap here. And yeah, I think we're probably already in the weeds with it, but let's take a deeper dive into some of the aspects of it. So you were happy. One of your questions from our Discovery preview episode was, are they going to explain the burn? And you got your answer. So we did get some.
Yes,
if we were playing,
I got my answer. I have more questions. Obviously,
Sure.
Again, we don't know why dilithium, the majority of dilithium, not all dilithium, obviously blew up. But then I was, I'm kind of like on the tech nerd side of Star Trek. So I was like, but what about Rivalin technology? Because they don't use antimatter. They use a quantum singularity to power their warp drive.
That was one of the ones that he mentioned. He mentioned
yeah,
I'm pretty sure he mentioned a quantum singularity drive.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Because he said, I think he went through that very quickly. I did hear slipstream.
Yeah.
I did not catch the quantum singularity drive. So maybe there are these other modes of transport because I guess slipstream drive, that's totally separate from warp drive.
Right.
And then a quantum singularity doesn't need lithium.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. I'm really excited. If we see more tech, well, there's quite a bit of tech in this episode, right? So there's the interfaces on the screen on Book's ship, which mimic also the some of the technology you see at the cold open from Sahir's place. Sahir, yeah. He has some of this visual, like, so obviously, like, their visuals are like this kind of same thing as their tactical, like their interface is kind of like bricks and blocks. I don't know how else to explain it. Pixelated almost, but in larger blocks, I guess. I don't know. So there's that. There's personal transporters, which is really cool. I was pretty excited by that. So, I mean, if I went shopping in the 32nd century, that's what I would pick up as a personal transporter, definitely.
It's very convenient.
We see that whole, so we only see part of that whole world that they go to get the dilithium, right? So we only see that upper part, but clearly there's a whole civilization there. And interestingly enough, it's like, it looks like it's suspended at some sort of anti-grav way up there. So there was a lot of great tech in this, including the weapons, which, as far as I could tell, have a kill setting only.
I know. I was like, they're vaporizing everyone.
They were vaporizing everyone.
Yeah.
Although I was happy to see the vaporization of the creature that was pursuing Book. Yeah, it's
Oh,
just,
the alien.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously they have cloaking technology. It's pretty standard.
Pretty standard.
What else did we see for technology there? Nothing about communicators. The communicators were kind of nothing special. Also, with the dilithium, did you notice that they're really small crystals? Like she just grabbed a bunch of really small,
Yeah, they're kind of small. I feel like we saw a dilithium chamber in TNG, and it was like a massive ass crystal.
yeah. So maybe a ship book size doesn't need that. I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know.
So that was that all was really interesting. I thought that seeing everything through Michael's eyes was really good. Seeing the new world, seeing kind of taking a breath. She was exhausted, but she forced herself to walk. Like at the very beginning, after she crashes, she's in pain, she's exhausted, and she just forces herself to walk, which I thought was very Vulcan of her. But yeah, I thought the whole storyline, I have to go back and watch it because the transition from the jellyfish to the sanctuary to the Federation outpost was all really quick from what I remember. So I kind of want
What, the jellyfish? What are you talking about?
the endangered species that ate half the guys.
Oh, yeah, it was it's not a jellyfish. I don't they call it
Not a jellyfish.
I don't remember what. Yeah, I don't remember what they called it.
Worm or something. Space
Oh,
worm.
transworm or something.
Okay.
Yeah, closed captioning help for that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I'll turn on closed captioning.
I mean,
when
trust me,
rewatch
it helps.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought the story, a lot of questions, set up the world, set up one part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Sensors are only operative within like what, a 30
sectors or something, which sounds actually pretty big, but I guess in the span of the galaxy, it's not that large.
Right. So
yeah, I'm not sure, but why would long range sensors be affected by this? I mean, like there was one thing he mentioned where he said that the Gorn destroyed 2 light years worth of subspace, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how everything is kind of connected together, because that was just like a one-liner. And she was like, "What, the Gorn?" And then I don't know. There's just a lot of little pieces.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if they're all connected or not. So
I did like the Orions and the Andorians. That's an interesting pair up for sure.
mm-hmm.
And the stuff that they spray in Michael's, she really did well with that kind of act. That whole scene, really,
that was interesting. I thought it was fine.
She really played that well. I thought her acting there was really good.
She was just kind of drunk, basically.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit more than being drunk.
I think there was some interesting camera work. I don't know if I loved it, actually. So that scene when Michael is sprayed with the true serum, whatever, obviously they had fun with the camera. But then there were a lot of action shots that were just really close to them. And it was like handheld kind of look. And I was like, okay, we're really close to the action, like person on person action. And it was not steady cam, it was like shaky cam. And I was like, there's just a lot of shakiness to they do that a lot in Discovery, but for some reason this time I was like, it's just really shaky.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't notice that. It didn't bother me, but it
bothered me a little bit. Okay. The other thing that I thought, it didn't bother me, but I did slack you when I was watching it, was I got to that scene towards the end where, Michael and Sahil
is not Sahir. Sahil, yeah.
So when Michael and Sahil are together and they're talking towards the end, and he's like, "Can you unfurl this flag for me?" I was like, "Oh my God." Like, it was just so dramatic. And I understand, it's like, yes, the Federation stands for hope. Yes, I get it. Thank you. It was just like, it was a little bit too much. it's the kind of drama that I kind of roll my eyes at, because it's like, all right, we get it. You do not need to hammer home this idea, because I think they mentioned like 20 times in the episode, because when Book, figures out that Michael is Starfleet Federation, he talks about hope a zillion times. It's like, oh, hang on to that hope, that optimism. I was like, oh my God, like how much more can they talk about this? I understand what they're trying to say. Yes, the Federation is a beacon of hope in the universe. We got it. There's, they're basically like, I don't know. It's like this like weird savior complex for the Federation, which I personally thought was, for me, it was kind of torn down during the DS9 era. That the Federation is not this utopian society that we recognize it, that we thought it was, right? That it can be as corrupt as any other society or organization. Like it has these ideals, but it is far from perfect. So I do think that, for us to kind of go back to that idea is kind of like treading old ground for me personally. So, the Federation is not the only hope in the galaxy, but I feel that's the way they're positioning this season, which I'll see if I come around to it, but that's like old hat for me. But I don't know what your thoughts are about that.
I think that Michael Burnham represents that, has always represented integrity and honesty and optimism and hope and strong ideals. I think that that's baked into the character and who she is. So I feel like that's what she's going to call out. Like I guess I can totally empathize, and also I emulate that a lot. Like when things are not what they should be, and by should, I'm not saying like should be in my own world, but what I believe to be truth. If we were to modernize, or to bring it to our time, modernize it, it'd be truth, justice, and freedom. Kind of
justice in the American way.
Yeah, I was gonna say the American way, but I would say that we've lost our way a little bit, or our leadership has. Anyway, I would just say that I think that holding up those ideals is important, and you kind of need, like, I did just watch her speech from the end of season 1, and she
got on her soapbox and had a little speech. Yes,
she did. Yes. And that's who Michael Burnham is. She represents these high ideals, which she holds herself to, and which she expects kind of everyone else to kind of live up to. And it's kind of a non-negotiable for her, really. So when she finds out that this is all kind of falling apart, I think that talking about that is the, this is what the Federation means. This is what it, stood for. And also remember that the time that she came from is a very idealistic time. Things were, aside from the Klingon War, the Federation was founded. It was a very idealistic thing. If you look at the original series, always, very optimistic, very idealistic. So I think she comes from that time frame and bringing that forward. So I think finding a world and finding a universe where none of that is the case anymore, she's gonna call that out, and she's going to help and want to help bring that back, because on top of all those other qualities, she is a person of duty. And when she meets Sahil, she presents herself as a Starfleet officer, as a commander. And I thought that was, kind of reporting for duty, because he did say, "Welcome to Starfleet." I mean,
he did.
So, but he also, and part of the whole scene with the flag really was that he also has high ideals. He's done this job for 40 years, waiting every day for some new signal, or doing what little, I guess he has 2 starships that he knows about in his sector of space. So, that's his focus, but also he holds the same ideals. So he wasn't commissioned. He's not a member of Starfleet. He can't lift up the flag. I mean, but I think Burnham says very clearly, you can, and you are a member of Starfleet, because for the fact that you've done this job for 40 years, that you've waited this long, that you didn't need anybody to commission you. You've been commissioned. You've been doing the job. The commissioning is only really a formality. So, I think that that's honestly, like, if we compare it to Picard, I think if we had Picard and Burnham running for president and vice president, those would be the people that we need in the world right now, are these people with really high ideals of what things should be. And I think that that's probably the theme that we're going to see, is this idea of rebuilding at least some aspect of the Federation and these ideals, if not only to protect the innocent and the endangered, but to bring back unity and fight injustice. I think that that's all. I think we're going to see, even though this was filmed pre-coronavirus, I think that the world that this was recorded in is going to be reflected in this show as it is now, even though in the real world right now it's 10 times worse, or 100 times worse, or even more. So I think that we need this idealism. I think we need this dramatic pause, this dramatic remembrance of what things should be. So, all right, I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, it's fine. I think that, I think that I don't have that kind of, I think my understanding of Star Trek has more to do with just Star Trek as a property and a show. And we talked about this even way back when we had our intro episode, and why are we into Star Trek? And I think that my connection to Star Trek actually doesn't necessarily need, directly connect with this idea of the Federation, because I do, I'm not really a believer of like that utopias can exist, here on Earth. Like I don't, so that's why DS9 worked really well for me, because it really is like, there is this idea, there is this conceit, but to actually achieve this in reality. And we even see this with Discovery, Section 31 was around, and they had to, they got swept under the rug, but they did what they had to do to ensure that the Federation was protected, and they got shit done, right? And we see that much more in DS9, but in the Discovery era, like they were kind of just operating out in the open, and everyone kind of knew about them, I guess. But I don't know if it necessarily, my emotional connection, I don't think necessarily has to do with these Federation ideals, and maybe more it has to do with the ideals of the individuals, which potentially might be difficult to divorce from the idea of the Federation. But at the same time, I think that one of the things that's great about Star Trek is that it is able to show us how people are able to bridge their differences, Federation or not. That people who are just, they may not come from the same background, or they may not come from, same value systems. Like they can still find common ground somehow. And you can, like, Nemesis was not a good movie, I would say, but even there was a good example where Picard was able to gain the trust of the Romulans, and we see that, play out further pre-Picard, like Star Trek Picard. But, he's able to extend his olive branch and work with someone that isn't, they're not part of the Federation. And I think that kind of philosophy, I think, resonates with me beyond just this idea of this organization that is supposed to embody these ideals. So anyway, that's my perspective on it.
All right.
So I think I'm like, so maybe for me, that whole scene, I was just like, all right, I get it, but maybe it has more to do. Yeah. My connection again has more to do with, and I do respect like Michael Burnham and her, and what you're saying in terms of her attachment to these ideals, in terms of, what the Federation should stand for. And yeah, I think that I do agree with you that a lot of what is attractive about her in terms of a character are these kind of ideals that we see in her, that we see in Christopher Pike, in season 2. Those things really do, I think, at the end of the day. And maybe this is what I'm rambling now, but maybe this is what the Federation is more about the people, than necessarily the organization. And the charter that holds it together. It's more about the individuals and what they stand for.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it is more about the individuals, because not every individual is going to necessarily believe in the ideals or act in the best interest of the ideals or follow that path. And
It's like America, right? It's a perfect example where our founding fathers had this idea as to what it should be. But that doesn't mean that every American, interprets those ideals in the same way. Some are going to, and we see this even in Star Trek, like not everyone that's a member of the Federation, actually acts out the way that the Federation ideal is. And I think the same thing can be said for Americans, not to get into politics, but not every American holds the ideals that our founding fathers had in terms of accepting diversity, and freedom of speech and everything like that, So I think it probably can be very similar. And at the end of the day, you need these people to really stand up for these values that are intrinsic to, an organization, but not, to kind of cut through those that are going to interpret it in more nefarious means, I guess.
I would agree. I think that that's a great way to kind of sum it up. And why don't we move on to a new segment that we're going to start for this series, which we're calling tentatively Character Corner.
Number 1, you sailed with Burnham aboard the Shenzhou. What is your assessment of her abilities?
So, Cleveland Booker. Thoughts on him? What do you think? What are your initial thoughts on this new character? So, we talked a lot about Michael Burnham, but let's dig into Book a little bit here and focus on him for this part of the episode.
Yeah, I thought he was annoying. We had talked about this a little bit already. I thought that he was obvious. The first thing he did was, when he met Michael, was attack her. So I think that we were given this presentation of his character as one that's rather antagonistic and not trusting. And I think he's supposed to be this character that grows on you, right? You kind of, he's complicated. I'm sure he has his reasons. And then you slowly peel back the layers and oh, this guy's actually very fascinating and sexy. Yeah, no, that was fine. It was fine. What do you think about Book?
Well, I agree that the intro to him was kind of rough, and he was very
he came out a little strong. I think that they made him come on very strong. I don't know if he had to come on that strong, but
well, I think to stand toe to toe with Michael Burnham, I think you kind of have to be a tough character. So I think it was a good diametrically opposed viewpoint character to her. I think that what I really liked was towards the end where they started working together and where he advised her to close your eyes. He, calmed down the worm just enough to release her. And also, I think the other thing that we really see is obviously he's kind of someone who is different than his family or planet of origin or anything like that. He's a unique individual. He has a unique connection to living things. So that was really interesting when he did with that with the plant, and when he talked to the worm, and then you see when they get to the planet, he and his brothers were, I'm saying brothers, but they were all men. The group of people who were kind of protected in this. Yeah, well, we
did not explain.
We did not, but they're on a sanctuary planet anyway.
Yes.
So I thought that that was so he is a bit idealistic, and I think that he goes against the grain as well. And I think that they're going to work together to kind of restore some justice and some hope to the universe, given the place that it's at right now. So yeah, and he has a freaking cool ship. I mean,
Very
yeah,
unusual design. Yeah.
I'm a
And I
fan
don't
of it
know,
though.
is he human or is he like augmented human? That was not explained, right? I didn't miss that.
No, you didn't. I didn't remember seeing anything about that. I feel like he's not human, or if he is, he's an evolved human. It'll be
Yeah,
interesting
something.
because I think that they do eventually go to Earth at some point. They do venture to Earth, and so it'll be interesting to see what humanity is kind of evolved into in the 32nd century. Which, if you can talk more specifically about what Daniel said about what Earth is like to Tucker, right? Did he say that to Tucker?
Yeah, but he wasn't specific. He was just like, yeah, it's not going to
Not
be
what,
as you know it.
right. So,
He did not go into further detail.
right. So, maybe we will see some of that detail. But I think he's a good addition to the crew. He's obviously our guide to this universe, which is what we needed. We obviously needed a guide to the universe. So this is our guide. So we'll be seeing.
And Michael needs a new love interest.
Yes, we no longer Shazad Latif. Ash Tyler is back in 1,000 years, and
Bye Volk, whatever.
yeah. So yeah, bye
Later.
Volk. Yeah. So yeah, but I like him. I'm less interested in the romantic aspect of this relationship. I'm more interested in what his abilities are and how he'll support Burnham in her journey, especially in finding the discovery. So obviously this opener basically starred 3 people and had a few other people, Orions, and actually we saw a Tellarite. I feel like we saw another.
We saw Lorian.
Lurian, that's what it was. Yep.
Yeah.
So we see a bunch of original kind of Star Trek aliens. So yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. We've waited a long time for this. I'm excited. I enjoyed it. I'm going to go back and watch it again with closed captioning so I can get
it really helps a lot.
Get the words correct. But I did look it up, and it is Sahil. So we said it wrong earlier in the episode. I did too. So yeah. So
he said his name once. How am I supposed to remember? And he's so dramatic. Goodness.
Not as dramatic as you're being right now.
I'm never dramatic. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. So there we go. Our entry into the 32nd century has begun. We have no idea when or how Discovery will join this universe. Obviously, it crash lands, but it doesn't stay crash for long. And there was a lot. I wish I could remember all of the things that we saw in the
market
promo for this season.
Oh, the upcoming.
Yeah, there were a number of things. I think we'll probably have to tear that apart next week when we talk about episode 2. Maybe we can kind of dig in. But again, we wanted to kind of be first out of the gate and get our thoughts about Discovery out there and let you all discuss. But yeah, do you have any other final thoughts before we sign off?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered everything. I am excited to see where this all leads. Hopefully we don't have mysteries drag out forever and ever. And yeah, I want to see the rest of the Discovery crew ASAP, because Discovery is not just about Michael Burnham. It's about the whole ship. So
very true. Very true. Well, hopefully we'll see them next week as Michael continues to search for them. I wonder if they'll turn up at the same planet or another part of the universe. You know what, this really quickly, this reminds me of Star Trek 2009 and the wormhole that was created that you know, the Romulans came through and then 25 years later
Oh, yes,
Spock came through. So hopefully the time distortion isn't that great, but we do have some precedent for there being a time distortion, which I don't think until this episode happened, I don't think we had an inkling that that would be the case. So yeah, so we have a lot to look forward to, and I don't think we've really uncovered what the theme of. Obviously, it's just an investigation of what's happened in this world, but and a reuniting with the Discovery crew and them acclimating to the new time. But I don't know that we have a overarching theme yet as to what, kind of like the Red Angel or the Klingon War. We don't really.
I mean, the theme isn't when it. I mean, from what we know about the season and also from preview, it's about piecing together the Federation again.
The Federation again. Okay.
Bringing it back together, right?
Yeah.
Bring hope back to the universe, because I guess the universe needs the Federation to have hope.
You don't seem very convinced about that.
I mean, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like, okay, all right.
Yes.
I don't know. Putting all your hopes and dreams on an organization is not really my thing, I think, at the end of the day. So
clearly.
But they need some sort of conceit to go after. So I'm like, fine, go at it.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out more about it next week. We did get a lot of answers, but we have more questions.
There are plenty of questions. Yeah.
So we will stay tuned and look forward to the next episode of Discovery, which I'm assuming is just part 2. The Hope Is You part 2.
Yes.
I would assume is next week's episode. So we'll get to see that 1 week from today, and we'll be back here talking about it and in your ears weekly to break this all down for you, give you our opinions and thoughts and feelings. There we go. Yes. So how can people reach us if they want to share their thoughts and feelings on the 32nd century?
Yeah, so we would love to hear from you. We would love to hear your thoughts, questions. If you disagreed with us, my ranting, you can email us at deepspacepride@gmail.com. You can also reach us on social media. We are on Instagram and Twitter at deepspacepride. So
there we go.
I think that does it. Yeah, that does it for this week's episode.
All right. Well, we'll see you all here back next week.
Bye, everyone.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut.